Lock the doors, pour yourself an extra large cup of coffee, and brace yourselves, ladies, because the leaked scripts for next week just landed on my desk, and the revelation that Sonny has been secretly hiding a very much alive Marco from a grieving Lucas is downright criminal. For weeks now, we have watched Lucas absolutely drown in a sea of unimaginable sorrow. The funeral for Marco took place quite some time ago, and if you ask me, the writers did a phenomenal job capturing the sheer, suffocating weight of that loss. We all saw the black umbrellas, the pouring rain, and the shattered look on Lucas's face as he said goodbye to the man he loved. As the son of the legendary Bobby Spencer, Lucas is no stranger to tragedy, but this particular loss seemed to break something fundamental inside of his spirit. He has been walking the sterile halls of General Hospital like a ghost, going through the motions of his medical duties while his soul is completely hollowed out. He has been trying so desperately to return to some semblance of a normal life, but there has always been a nagging, persistent shadow haunting his every waking moment. A deep, instinctual feeling in his gut that something about Marco's tragic death simply did not add up. The official reports were filed, the condolences were given, and the world moved on, but Lucas remained anchored in a state of agonizing suspicion. And, ladies, that suspicion is about to be validated in the most explosive way imaginable. According to the latest intel, the upcoming episodes will feature a moment that will completely shatter the current canvas. Lucas is going to return to his quiet, empty apartment after an exhausting shift at the hospital. As he sorts through the mundane pile of bills and junk mail, he is going to find a strange, unmarked manila envelope. There is no return address, no postage stamp, and no indication of who could have possibly slipped it under his door. With trembling hands, Lucas tears open the thick paper, pulling out a single, neatly typed letter. The message is short, chilling, and incredibly cryptic. It reads, "If you still believe in us, look closely at this photo. The truth isn't over." The sheer audacity of those words sends a cold shiver down Lucas's spine. Who would send something so cruel to a grieving man? He reaches into the envelope and pulls out a glossy photograph. It is an image of a hospital room, and lying on the bed is a man hooked up to various monitors. The man's face is gaunt, pale, and terribly emaciated, bearing the unmistakable signs of severe trauma and long-term medical care. Lucas's breath catches in his throat. It is Marco. But that's not even the craziest part. At first, Lucas's mind completely rejects what his eyes are seeing. He immediately assumes this is some sort of sick, twisted joke orchestrated by one of his family's many enemies. Perhaps it is a cruel manipulation by Jen Sidwell, who we know has just escaped and is currently plotting a severe trap for Sonny, Laura, and Lucas himself. Lucas throws the photo onto his kitchen counter, pacing the room, his heart hammering against his ribs. But the pull of that image is too strong. He walks back over, picks it up, and squints, analyzing every single pixel. He grabs a magnifying glass from his desk and zooms in on the frail figure lying in the hospital bed. That is when he sees it. A tiny, undeniable detail that makes his blood run completely cold. Strapped to the wrist of the unconscious man is a very specific, custom engraved watch. It is the exact same watch Marco always wore, the one Lucas knows intimately. This is no look-alike. This is no digitally altered fake. That is Marco. He is alive. As Lucas's eyes scan the rest of the dark, shadowy photograph, he notices a figure sitting in a chair in the corner of the room, keeping a silent vigil over the bed. The posture, the expensive tailored suit, the unmistakable aura of power. It is Sonny Corinthos. The sheer magnitude of this bombshell hits Lucas like a freight train. The uncle he trusted, the man who stood by him at the funeral and offered his condolences, has been sitting beside a living, breathing Marco this entire time. Lucas knows he cannot go to the Port Charles Police Department with this information. Dante is currently up to his neck arguing with ADA Justine Turner, desperately trying to defend Cassius Faison regarding Sidwell's escape. The police station is a chaotic mess right now, and Lucas knows that if Sonny is involved, this requires absolute discretion. So, Lucas takes matters into his own hands. Tapping into his Spencer family resilience, he quietly hires a top-tier private investigator, a highly skilled operative who specializes in untangling the dark webs of the criminal underworld. Lucas hands over his life savings to fund the investigation, demanding to know exactly where that photograph was taken and who sent it. The investigator follows a complex trail of encrypted emails, burner phones, and offshore shell companies tied to Corinthos Coffee. Days turn into agonizingly sleepless nights for Lucas as he waits for answers. Finally, The operative returns with a jaw-dropping twist. The photograph originated from an ultra-exclusive, heavily guarded private rehabilitation facility located in a remote part of Europe. A facility entirely funded and controlled by Sonny Corinthos. But that's not even the craziest part. Armed with this undeniable proof, Lucas becomes a man possessed. He does not call ahead. He does not ask for permission. He storms directly into Sonny's penthouse, completely bypassing the security guards with a fiery rage burning in his eyes. Inside, Sonny is in the middle of a tense strategic discussion with Rick Lansing, plotting their next moves against their mounting enemies. Lucas bursts through the door, slamming the photograph down onto the glass coffee table with enough force to crack it. The look on Sonny's face when he sees the image is one of absolute stunned silence. Rick wisely steps out of the room, leaving the two men alone in a suffocatingly tense atmosphere. Lucas unleashes a torrent of raw, unbridled agony. He screams at Sonny, demanding to know how he could play God with Marco's life. He demands to know how Sonny could stand at that graveside, watch Lucas weep until he had no tears left, and keep this monumental secret. Lucas's voice cracks as he accuses Sonny of being a monster, a man so consumed by control that he would steal a dying man away from the person who loved him most. Sonny, standing stoic and rigid, finally breaks his silence. The mob boss facade crumbles just a fraction, revealing a weary, burdened man underneath. Sonny begins to explain the harrowing events of the night Marco was supposedly killed. He tells Lucas that after the brutal attack, when the paramedics had essentially given up, Sonny received a frantic, encrypted call from a trusted contact on the inside. The contact revealed a shocking truth. Marco was still breathing. A faint pulse had been detected, but the assassins who had carried out the hit were still lurking in the shadows, waiting to finish the job and silence the witness permanently. Sonny knew that if word got out that Marco had survived, the hospital would be swarmed by hitmen before the sun even came up. He had to make a split-second decision. He used his vast underground network to intercept the ambulance, falsify the medical records, and smuggle Marco's barely clinging to life body onto a private jet headed straight for that European facility. Sonny hired the absolute best medical team money could buy, sworn to absolute secrecy, to care for Marco around the clock for months. Lucas is trembling, tears streaming down his face as he processes this immense revelation. "You had no right," Lucas whispers, his voice thick with devastation. "You took away my right to be with him. You let me believe my world had ended." Sonny steps closer, his dark eyes filled with a terrifying, unapologetic resolve. He looks Lucas dead in the eye and delivers a line that is going to go down in General Hospital history. "I did what I had to do to keep him breathing," Sonny growls. "I would rather you hate me for the rest of your life than have to watch you bury him for real." It is a classic, quintessential Sonny Corinthos justification, protecting his family by lying to them, carrying the sin so they can eventually have the salvation. Sonny explains that he couldn't tell Lucas, he couldn't tell Carly, he couldn't tell anyone. Any leak, any slip of the tongue, any change in Lucas's grieving demeanor would have tipped off the enemies that Marco was still alive. Marco had to remain dead to the world so he could heal in peace. But that's not even the craziest part. The reason Sonny was so utterly terrified of these assassins is about to be brought into the harsh light of day. Because, ladies, this long-buried secret is finally clawing its way out of the grave. Sonny reveals to Lucas that the grueling months of secret medical care have finally paid off. Marco is not just alive, he is recovering. In fact, he has regained consciousness, his strength is returning, and he is currently on a secure flight back to Port Charles. The reunion between Lucas and Marco is going to be one of the most tear-jerking, emotionally charged scenes we have seen on this soap in a very long time. I can already picture Lucas falling to his knees when Marco walks through that door. But this is General Hospital, and a happy reunion always comes with a massive, deadly price tag. Marco is not just returning to reclaim his life, he is returning with a vengeance, and he is carrying a piece of information that is going to wreak devastation across the entire town. You see, right before Marco lost consciousness on the night of the attack, he saw the face of the man who orchestrated the entire bloody affair. He saw the mastermind who wanted to wipe out Sonny's allies and terrorize the residents of Port Charles. When Marco finally sits down with Lucas and Sonny, still weak but burning with determination, he is going to drop the ultimate name. He reveals that the person who gave the order to have him slaughtered was none other than Ross Cullum. Yes, ladies, Ross Cullum! The very same man who is currently lurking in the shadows, gathering intelligence and wreaking havoc on our favorite characters. If we look at the broader canvas right now, this revelation could not possibly come at a more terrifying time. We know that Carly Spencer is currently at Windermere, desperately searching for a missing Jocelyn. We also know that Carly is completely cornered in that dark, isolated castle, and the man who has her trapped in his sights is Ross Cullum. He is acquiring new information, he knows too much, and he is incredibly dangerous. With Marco now back in Port Charles and ready to point the finger directly at Cullum, the stakes have just skyrocketed to a lethal level. Cullum is no longer just a shadowy threat, he is an exposed murderer who knows his time is running out. If Cullum finds out that Marco survived the hit and is back in town to testify against him, there is absolutely no telling what kind of violent, desperate measures he will take to silence the witness once and for all. And with Carly trapped in his web at Windermere, she could very well become the collateral damage in Cullum's frantic bid for survival. The collision course is set, my friends. Lucas has his love back, but their nightmare is far from over. Sonny's massive lie has saved a life, but it has shattered the trust of his family. And Ross Cullum is about to realize that the ghost of the man he tried to kill has returned to drag him straight to hell. I am telling you, the Friday cliffhanger is going to leave us all screaming at our television screens. Will Marco make it to the police station before Cullum finds out he is alive? Will Sonny's empire crumble under the weight of his own secrets? And most importantly, who is going to save Carly before Cullum decides to eliminate every single person standing in his way? Make sure you are subscribed, because the second the next batch of scripts drops, I will be right here to break it all down for you.